Your Humanities Half-hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Hafaday Zantiro, welcome to your Humanities Half-hour. I'm Catherine Perry. Our guest today is known affectionately as Señor to his students. It's my pleasure to have in studio Donald Mendiola, also a previous recipient of the Governor's Humanities Award. Señor, welcome. Twice. You're holding up two fingers. Twice. Preservation of traditional cultural practices?
Yes, it's traditional teacher of the year.
Well, it's really such an honor for us to have you back in the studio because you're really such a wealth of knowledge. And I was even thinking as we were chatting before the show, my goodness, why has it been so long since we've had Mr. Mendiola back? You started learning about culture and history at a very young age. Tell us how you came to be where you are today teaching others.
Okay. As far back as I can remember, I was about 4 years old, and I found myself being attracted to the elderly. All Chamorro and Carolinian, as well as the Carolinians. I tend to like to follow them. I follow them to bingo. I go pick up ripe mangoes and wash them and get them nice and seal in the refrigerator. And then when I see them pass by, I would run out and give them their mangoes. I would say, hey, tan this or tan that. Here's a mango, ripe mango for you. I picked it up myself at the farm. And they would start making me chew bitter nut. They would call me whenever they see me. They go, come and chew. So I would join them. And I would rather be with them when I was younger because I felt like there was this connection with them. And I learned to speak Chamorro from a lot of the elderly that I hung around with. They even corrected the way I spoke at home. And when I met with them, they would correct my Chamorro language. I was about 8.5 years old when I first got interested in weaving and in medicine. The culture part is just like when I was just growing up, I was just learning it along the way because I'd be hanging around with 2, 3, or sometimes 5 elderly women, and then men. I would follow them to go Talaza at Obstetric or over at Gingan Point. I would follow them, and I'd learn the fishing methods that they would use, and weaving baskets for fish from the elderly. My grandfather was a very good fisherman, Talaza fisherman, and a farmer. And like I said, I hung around with them all the time. I was even chosen by my grandfather to plant all the root crops, like the tapioca, the yams, the sweet potatoes, because he said that I tend to get the roots to be bigger than usual.
You have good hands.
I have good hands, yeah. I wouldn't say green hands, but probably brown hands because the roots are brown. At 8.5 years old, I was very interested in, because I see my grandmother and my great aunts making medicine, putting leaves together and pounding them in the mortar and pestle. And so I went to my grandmother one day. I went to my grandmother and says, Nana, I'm interested in learning about medicine, traditional local medicine. Can you please teach me? She looked at me and said, are you really sure that you're interested in learning? I go, yes, I am. And I guess she saw something and honesty in me that I would be worthy of learning her knowledge, taking her knowledge of the medicines. And she goes, okay. She goes, come back tomorrow and bring paper and a pencil or a pen to write with. So I just gathered some old paper bags that we had from Jolton's back in the CK. That's a long time ago. And I cut them up into nice small pieces for me to write with. And I went over to her house and I sat down. For the first time I was there to learn. It took about 3 hours to listen to her describing the plants, showing me the plants, and my writing down the ingredients for recipes. The next day I decided I wanted to learn to weave too. But see, that first day was just the beginning. So the next day I went and I asked for some pandanus leaves from my neighbor. She had a very nice big tree. I took the pandana leaves and she goes, what's that for? I go, can you teach me to weave too? So what ended up was like a 6-month period where I was learning, alternating learning to weave and learning to make medicine in that one summer, up until about the time I had to go back to school. And that was when I was 8.5. When I was 9 years old, I was weaving mats, bags, baskets, and I was making amud patsut, amud fresco, amud masisinik, all those nice herbal medicines that are used for babies mostly.
Now, how is it that you caught on to this at such a young age and have stayed with it so long? You mentioned when you first started teaching in the public school system, you taught business. Now,
Yes.
that kind of sound. Did your passion ever waver? Did you ever think you should be doing something else?
Yes, because like I said, I started teaching accounting, record keeping, and then at one time back in 1990, my cousin then, God save her soul, and I know she's in heaven, Dolores Marciano, my cousin, came over to MHS, and that time it was William Torres, who was the Commissioner of Education, and she came and asked me and goes, Don, can you teach this pilot class? I go, what pilot class? She goes, cultural literacy. And I want you to be the first one to try it and see if it's going to be a successful class. I go, why me? I'm teaching business. She goes, because you know the culture and you speak Chamorro like a regular old person, like her mom or her uncle. And I says, I'll try. Okay. So that first year, 1991 was the first time I taught cultural literacy. I only taught maybe two periods of it. And then the following year I taught all 6 periods, and then 2 years later I taught all 7 periods, because we didn't have a prep that time, and we had to have all of the high school students take the class because it was a requirement for graduation. Then I started teaching that, and at the same time I was working part-time at DFS. I worked from 1990 to 94. I was the PM, assistant manager of the downtown shop then. It was in the Galleria, which is a big box building that was DFS then. And Lino Fritz was the manager in the daytime, and the nighttime I come over and I would take over. I worked part-time, but then in many cases there were a lot of people coming over to see me at DFS, and here I am wearing the manager suit and seeing patients there. I decided to give up that job, that part-time job that was paying enough, but because I was thinking that people needed help and there wasn't anybody out there to help them. Well, there are actually, but I felt like I should help out more. So I decided to quit my job at DFS and just hold on to my full-time job at MHS and help people who were sick. So after work at MHS, I'd be at home available to help people. And then they started knowing that I could do that at night, so people started coming to see me, sometimes honking the horn at 2 o'clock in the morning to check their children up at the hospital, the emergency, and I go, this is my calling. I have to be helping out. I have to. Plus the fact that I feel like I have to give back. I love God so much that I make everything that I do a main focus is just for Him. So what I do and I aim is to do everything for the Lord. And then when you're focused on number 1, you don't have to worry about number 2, 3, 4, 5. So they all just fall into place. And I'm enjoying. I still enjoy doing it. I've been doing it for over 46 years. Anybody's welcome. All sorts of people come to my house. Chinese, Thailand people, of course locals, Chamorro, Carolinian, and name it, all of the Micronesian nationalities would come and visit, come to see me for help, and I do my very best to help them. But I never attribute any of the healing to myself from my hard work. I always attribute all the healing to God. Because without the great divine, we're nothing. So all the healing, whatever I do and I help somebody, tell them to thank God first. Because whatever they go, well, you did it, I go, no. Anybody could do it, but without God's hand in the process, the healing would take place. So that's how I see myself for doing, continuing. And some people ask me whether I was going to retire from doing it. I go, how can you retire when you're helping people? I tell them the last time that I'm ever going to do it is when I'm in my deathbed, probably.
I've heard from healers that, not really speaking about themselves, but that it really is a tremendous selfless act to be a healer, because there is a lot of time. Like you mentioned, 2:00 in the morning.
Yes,
My understanding is healers are always available, willing to wake up early to go pick the plant that needs to be picked early in the morning out in the jungle. And is that a real? And a lot of times, not accepting money in return. Can you share with us a little bit about this part of the practice?
The selflessness part, yes. Sometimes it would take me 2 days to gather everything that I need for a patient. Could be just for one person coming for a certain brew, and I would have to go after work to gather. Immediately after work, I wouldn't go home. I would just take my car, drive up to Marpi, go even to Cagman, go to the beach side to get all the herbs that I need, go to Objan, and then if I don't complete it that day, I would have to do it again the next day, and I would inform the person to come back at the time when I'm going to have it ready for them. You really have to be selfless. You have to not know how to count the costs and your time when you're doing this, because it's a total giving of yourself. And the way I see myself doing it is because, like I said, I do it for reason number one, where I make God priority number one. And so what Jesus says about doing whatever you did to the least of his brothers, you were doing it to him, is a very true statement of my life as I carry myself in everything I do. What I do to others, I always do it to Jesus, and it's always in my mind. I'm so much aware of it in my daily activities.
What are some of the maybe unexpected things that traditional Chamorro or Carolinian medicine can help with that maybe people are not aware of? I myself have recently become aware of things, but it could be a great alternative to some of the medicinal practices we're used to. What are some things that maybe people don't commonly know are included in our traditional medicine?
Okay. There's this very important part of the healing process where we have to make sure that the person that we're healing, where we're helping, understands that they have to have values in life. And when I say values, they have to be family oriented, they have to be considerate, compassionate towards everybody, not only their family members, but to other people, because sometimes when you are always angry, inconsiderate, you can get very sick from that. And we tell them, cut down, relax a little, go on a vacation, or spend more time at home, spend more time with the kids. And when they do that, usually, like the symptoms that they're getting, constant headaches, backaches, would just vanish, would just disappear, without even giving them a treatment to drink. You just talk to them and just make them realize that to live a good life, be honest, be compassionate. And I guess being compassionate is the best, the foremost of all, the understanding there. To understand, to be compassionate to everybody, and to be strong enough. Have patience in your life. Be patient to your family. Even if at the job site it's very stressful. But then there's always that praying moment, the meditation that you can have. You don't have to really sit and do a very serious or formal meditation, but you can just sit on your chair and just close your eyes and just imagine being under a waterfall, and that should calm or ease down the tensions and give you more peace. And when you're at peace, your body also follows through, because it's a spiritual thing. Everything manifests in the spirit realm prior to here in the physical realm. And when I say that, even our ancestors, when we communicate with them, we ask them, what should the person do? And usually they would say, apologize to the wife, apologize to the parents, and promise not to do it again. And then when they do that, they tend to get better. They become better citizens in the long run. Life is very valuable. It's very short, and we have to make the best of our time. And understanding and being, I keep using the word compassionate. To have compassion, you have to have love in your heart, and to be patient, to be understanding, is very necessary. Because I believe that if more people were in this situation, in this case, being compassionate to everybody, or to at least to their family at first, they'll be more healthy and less illness and less problems here in the Marianas.
It's all about acknowledging that we're mind, body, and spirit.
So, spirit, yes.
And it's all interconnected.
Yes, they're all interconnected. And if people were to understand that, they would be at peace.
With themselves and with others.
And with others, yes.
Our guest today is Donald Mendiola, and we'll be back after this break.
The Northern Marianas Humanities Council invites you to the 75th anniversaries of the Battles of Saipan and Tinian multimedia exhibit from June 12 to July 14, featuring never-before-seen photos and footage of the people of the Marianas during the battles in 1944. Photos will be exhibited at the Northern Mariana Islands Museum of History and Culture, and footage will be screened at the American Memorial Park. Join us in commemorating the resiliency of the Marianas peoples at this historic exhibit from June 12 to July 14.
Welcome back to your Humanities Half-hour. Our guest today is Donald Mendiola, sharing with us his expertise in various aspects of indigenous Chamorro and Carolinian culture. We had a long list of things we were supposed to talk about during the show, and we are just running through. We're going to have you back. That's all I can say. You were talking before the break about traditional medicine, and I think one of the things that I feel is very cool is some of the ways that people with your skill can help, for example, pregnant women either give birth or maybe having a difficult or about to have a difficult birth. Share with us some of this knowledge, if you don't mind.
Okay. It's very unusual because me being male, I was taught by women. They've passed on already. They've taught me how to help women who are pregnant and who have a hard time during their pregnancies, and most especially when they have a breech child. And so, instead of getting a C-section, they've taught me how to massage a certain way to try to get the child to turn and come out naturally. And that's happened many times already, more than the fingers that I have in my two hands. I've helped, with the grace of God, of course, I've helped many women already deliver naturally. Although there were several that were scheduled to have C-sections. They've flown in from off island for C-sections, and they came and asked me if I could if I could help them in any way I go. I can try. I can't guarantee. So I just hope that the Lord will permit this massage to go through. And so I've done that, and lo and behold, they would deliver naturally and cancel the C-section. And also, it's very good. It makes me so happy that it works and it helps them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that in traditional Chinese medicine, for example, they have acupressure points that you can massage to help a woman go into labor, say she's overdue.
Yes.
Is there anything like that in local culture?
It's more spiritual, which is very difficult to describe, but then it's just more of like the healing hands of the healer. We place it on the surface of the stomach, of course, and we just roll around, make circles, and then we do our chants and prayers, and that's about it. And then we just wait, and then during that time of the massage, the child tends to start moving because the child would feel the heat and follow the movement of the hand for the child twist and engage for it to come out.
Mm.
I believe that it's something very physical and scientific. By rubbing and with the oil in your palm and applying, not pushing too hard, but just applying the right pressure and moving your hand, the child tends to follow that, probably the heat, because that heat may be soothing for the child. The child is searching for it, can feel it, then starts following it, and then when we go right below the belly button and we stay right there, then the child sort of follows and moves around until it engages. We have to first find where the head is. So, and if it's on the right side, we tend to go counterclockwise, but we only go halfway until we reach below the belly button. So the child's head will go right there in the bottom, right there in the point where it's supposed to engage itself. And if it's on the left side, then we go clockwise.
Around that circular around the abdomen.
And then we just focus and put more pressure on the bottom so that the head, where the child feels it more, I guess, would engage itself, engage the head. That's what we do. And prior to doing that, we do our prayers. Every healer has this time of prayer prior to starting to do any healing. Fortunately, there hasn't been one that I would say was unsuccessful, because any kind of help is always a help. So it's always something good whenever you're helping. And it's helped them when I had to do that. But nowadays, I feel like a lot of the women are, they're so busy running around, and so they immediately just go to the hospital. It's faster for them. And a lot of them don't want to have to go through the treatment, so they just go get their C-section. But that's very sad, because that's going to be very painful, and the period of time that they're going to be off from work, if they're working, it's going to be quite away from being productive for them to heal. I mean, when you get cut, how long does it take for the C-section to heal up? Maybe a month or more before they start moving around again. It's better if they didn't even get the cut and just have their child naturally.
I think it's important to know that there's benefits to both the traditional and the modern, and just to be aware of what your options are.
Yes, there are options,
and to look at them. What are your feelings on where we are today as Indigenous people in transferring or promoting, perpetuating, for example, this healing knowledge, especially being in the middle school, as you are now? What are you seeing with today's generation?
I've been teaching, covering about 3 weeks of traditional herbal medicine in class. I've done lesson plans for about three weeks with the rest of our bilingual teachers, where I take the students out and I show them, I identify the plants with them, and I tell them what they're used for. I teach them how to make certain types of cures for children, for babies, because it's very important that they have to know that in bilingual, I think that the language itself is not the only thing that has to be taught. The culture and the healing is part of our Chamorro and Carolinian culture. So we have to, the way to perpetuate it is to help the kids learn these things, and so we have to teach them. Although we don't have a whole long session to teach it, but at least introduce it, and so as they move on in life and they mature, they can maybe they gain the interest in taking up that vocation, and that, like I did when I was very young. Maybe they can pick up that vocation and do it, and that's one way of perpetuating it. The Amut Nativo, at the present time, and you know about that, they're doing this on a yearly basis. They come up with this. They schedule dates where us healers will come together and we do a demonstration, or we bring medicine to sample for people to come in and listen to us. We do talks and short question and answer sessions for them to know more about what we do and how to help themselves, to keep healthy. What we can suggest for them to just grab them from the plants and boil for them to drink as brews that would help detox their bodies or cleanse them. we're doing something now. Of course, not everybody's meant to know it because they're not all meant to be in those same kinds of in the same vocation that I am interested in. I feel like it's more of a hobby because it's something I like to do.
Huh.
But it's part of my life, and that's
I was going to say
hobby.
a calling.
Yeah, well, yeah. But to me, it's just, I do a lot of things other than that. The healing, I call it that a calling, a vocation, a hobby, things that I like to do. Because I shouldn't be doing this if I didn't like doing it. And when you have a hobby, you're supposed to enjoy doing whatever hobby it is. And so, yes, we are trying our very best to preserve the knowledge and to perpetuate it. And we are doing as much as we can at the present moment to bring it back at the middle school level where we're learning to teach them in the proper way. Because I and the rest of the bilingual teachers at Hopwood would come together and we would write a lesson plan as to how to teach it, how to cover it in class. And they're all very helpful. They join me when I start giving the lectures to the students. And the good thing about it is I go outside with them. It's like a field trip within the campus and we walk around. But unfortunately, we're now at Cobleville and there aren't very many plants that I can show the kids there. I'll have to bring them in from my house and from elsewhere on the island. I have to show them the plants and then explain to them what they're used for and how to put certain plants together for a recipe.
If you could share a final word with our listeners who may be of our generation,
Yes.
Chamorros and Carolinians, and younger generation that you are teaching, what would you want to share with them?
I want them to know that if they go to the hospital and don't find a cure for their illness, to keep their options open to go try to search out a healer in their village, because I'm pretty sure there's at least one in every village that can help. And when you approach them, just don't go saying, hey, I need you to help me, blah, blah, blah. You know, be a person, be understanding and be compassionate, and just talk to them and ask them for help, because I know that they're going to be willing to help. Once you get the right person or you approach them properly, they will help you. But I know there are a lot of people who know how to heal, but you just have to find them. Yeah. And if you find the right person, then it's meant to be. Okay. Some people tell me that they've been looking all over the island for me. I live in Aslito. When they say they drive by, they were told they were given a map to go to my place, and then they pass by my house and they go, why couldn't I find your house? I go, maybe it's not time for you to come yet. Maybe it's not meant for you to come yet. Sometimes it would take like a couple of weeks before they see me, and I would just laugh because I tell them, you know where I'm at, just give me a call, and I'll come outside and wait for you to drive by, and I'll bring you back into the house. I can help. Anyways, what can I say about this? It really helps if they believe that this option is helpful as well, because the faith part there helps improve the healing process.
Yes.
Any
other final thoughts before we go?
Thank you for having me here today, and I'll take you up on your follow-up, but that'll be next year, yeah?
No, I think we definitely need you have to have you back way before next year, because with the wealth of knowledge that you have, really appreciate you making the time and being willing to share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Our guest today has been Donald Mendiola, sharing about traditional cultural practices in the Chamorro and Carolinian cultures, and we look forward to having him back soon to share more. This has been your Humanities Half-hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.